Who are you? Do you ever really wonder about that? Who are you? I think about it a lot, especially as someone in the public eye. Who is the real me, the authentic me? Oh, I know to some extent who I'm supposed to be, insofar as it relates to those around me, particularly towards you, my parishioners. I have to be careful what I say and how I say it. I have to be really careful how I use humor and teasing. I have to do my best to not show favoritism. I have to be faithful to the teachings of the church, that is, to do my best to articulate the faith and break open the mysteries in a thoughtful, kind, confident way, all under 7 minutes. In other words, everything I say and do is supposed to build up this wonderful community of faith, not weaken it or undermine it or cause it any harm. That's really a tall order. But is that the real me? I also know that I can be petty and unfortunately lazy and dishonest and engage in gossip and gravitate towards those parishioners that I like more and try to get back at those who have wronged me, and unfortunately my staff has to put up with me sometimes not being the sunshine of their life, and frustrated with liturgical ministers and servers who don't do the things perfectly. And well, I'm done with my public confession. It's a long list, unfortunately. But is that the real me? Or is that someone else? Who are you? Some of us will constantly define ourselves by who we used to be, for good or for bad. Some of us still brag about the things from long ago, brag about some kind of athletic achievement that we have, or the good-looking girl or guy we dated back in high school, or we might still tell people our impressive ACT score. Some of us like to name drop about a famous person we met years ago, or continually talk about the best or highest paying job we had, or some award that we won. But on the flip side of that, some of us can't forget a mistake we made when we were much younger, or a relationship that failed, or the time in our lives when we were abusing a substance, or mistreating a parent or a spouse, or getting fired from a job. I guess living in the past is something many of us do without even thinking. Is that really who we are? And what about the opposite? Do you sometimes imagine the real you is on the horizon, somewhere down the road, in the future? That's me sometimes as well. I often envision the day when I will be kinder and more loving and more compassionate and more faithful and more at peace and more joyful and more secure with my place in this world. It's as if I'm saying that the guy I am now is not the real me. The real me is the person I will be at some point in the future, at the point when I will fully buy into what God is selling, the point in my life when I will give it all towards trying to become the best version of myself. Who are you? Who am I? In today's first reading from Exodus, we hear one of the most profound passages in scriptures. And if in your mind you pictured Charlton Heston as it was read, that's okay, I did too. It's funny how film can shape how we imagine this and these remarkable stories in the Bible. And at the heart of this conversation between God and Moses are a few words, simple words, that say volume. When Moses urges God to reveal his name to him, God replies, I am who am. I am. Now, we might think that it just shows God simply being evasive, that God is essentially saying, I'm not going to tell you my name. And there might be a little of that going on here, since in the ancient world, knowing someone's name meant that someone had a kind of control or power over the other. But it seems to be much more than that. In declaring himself as I am, God is revealing to Moses the profound truth that God is an eternal, present reality. God doesn't have a past or a future. God simply is. Imagine that. But what about us? Is that our reality? Can it be? Should it be? Well, in one sense, yes, and in one sense, no. As creatures, we are immersed in time and space during our journey on this earth. We do have a past, and we do have a future, and hopefully that future will be an eternal one in God's presence. And so, in that regard, we can't claim the same name as God. But maybe, just maybe, we can live as if it were so. What I mean to say is this: if God has no past and no future, if God is simply in the now, maybe we should try to live in the light of that reality too. Maybe the past is something we can learn from, but shouldn't dwell on. And maybe the future is something we absolutely can look forward to and plan for and keep on our sights, especially being with God for all eternity, but not if it means that we keep putting off and putting off and putting off the changes we need to make and God is calling us to make today. In some ways, Lent is a perfect opportunity to firmly ground ourselves in the present, a time of sincerely to take a long and deep, honest look at who we are at this very moment, in this time and in this place. And if the person we think we should be is either someone we were in the past or someone we can take our time becoming, or worse yet, maybe someone we don't even want to be, then we can be sure that we will never be that person. Who am I? Who are you? Not who were you long ago, not who will you be at some point in the future, but rather, who are we honestly right now? Who is the real you and the real me? My friends, God wants us to be that person this very day. And if you're not sure you believe you can be that person, God says, I am.